Hello dear students, the first food identification test was used to identify the presence of starch in food. In this session, we will focus on food rich in sugar and the identification test that is used to identify its presence in the food that we consume. Watch out the experimental procedure done on glucose, which is a sugar. In a test tube containing glucose, add few drops of Benedict's solution, the one that we call Fehling solution. Put the tube in a water bath, heated on a Bunsen burner, and observe carefully the change taking place. Knowing that the color of Fehling solution is blue, a brick red precipitate was formed after heating. Note that a precipitate formation is completely different from a change in color, where a precipitate is a formation of accumulated solid particles in the bottom of the test tube, as shown in this document. However, this is a change in color. That was discovered by another experiment if all the food around us contained sugar. By taking different food samples and trying to identify the presence of sugar in each. The food samples that we are going to use are fruit juice, egg white, starch, oil, and water. Here the Fehling solution is used as the reagent and a Bunsen burner for heating. Add few drops of Fehling solution in each tube containing food. Heat the tubes successively and observe the change taking place in each. Remember that the positive result of Fehling test is the formation of a brick red precipitate, which is observed only in the first tube containing fruit juice, as shown in the following document. So what we have observed is a brick red precipitate formation with fruit juice only. Please take few minutes and try to interpret the experiment done before presenting the answer. Remember that in order to interpret, you have to analyze the experiment and give a significance concerning the results. Did you finish? Well, here is the experiment's interpretation. A brick red precipitate was formed with fruit juice only after applying Fehling test by adding Fehling solution, which is the reagent, followed by heating, and you have to pay attention that it's very important to state that heating is applied in this case. I mean in case of Fehling test. And here comes our significance. This means that the fruit juice contains sugar. However, is used to link between the two experiments done. However, a brick red precipitate was formed when applying Fehling test to egg white, starch, oil, and water, indicating the absence of sugar in each. As a conclusion, you have to keep in mind that Fehling test is used to identify the presence of sugar in food, forming a brick red precipitate, which is the positive result of Fehling test, indicating the presence of sugar in the food we are consuming. as represented in the following equation. Whenever Fehling solution which has a blue color reacts with sugar, a brick red precipitate will be formed, indicating the presence of sugar. Please do not forget to fill the second row in the table on your copybook. As an application, understand the experiments done, then answer the questions below. A grade 8 student carried out 2 experiments in the laboratory to test the presence of some essential components in bread, as shown in experiment 1 and 2, where he applied iodine test and Fehling test. 1. You have to analyze the above experiments done by the student. 2. Draw out from each experiment a conclusion regarding the constituents of bread. 3. Identify if bread is a simple or a complex food. Take few time and start solving. Did you finish? Well, the solution of the application. 1. In experiment 1, a dark blue color was formed when iodine test was applied by adding few drops of iodine solution. However, in experiment 2, after applying Fehling test, upon adding Fehling solution followed by heating, a brick red precipitate was formed. 2. From experiment 1, we conclude that the positive result with iodine test shows that bread contains starch. By referring to experiment 2, we conclude that the positive result with Fehling test shows that bread contains sugar. 3. Since bread contains more than one simple food, starch, and sugar, then it is a complex food. Presented is the summing up table showing the identification tests done on carbohydrates, starch, and sugar, and the positive result of each test. Please, you have to autocorrect your work. Then memorize the information in the table. Please, teacher, repeat the videos, understand the procedures, and practice on interpreting the experiments. Finally, you have to study the notes. Contact us as your instructors if you have any question. Be safe. Thank you. Your teacher, Rachel.